win today. Dream of the Endless, or Eternity, Marvel Comics. Dream of the Endless has a cosmic superiority over Eternity because he is the source of all Type 1 entities and conceptual principles in DC Comics. These principles include entities that transcend the multiverse and essential cosmic functions that allow eternity to exist, such as the space axis, time geometry, and even subatomic particles. As a member of the Endless, Dream exists not only within the DC Multiverse, but also beyond it, including independent multiverses outside of the DC Omniverse, which is itself a collection of countless multiverses. Thus, Dream is present in every multiverse that has ever existed, and also in those that have not, or do not exist in Marvel, such as the First Firmament, the Seventh Cosmos, the current multiverse, or any multiverse that is beyond the traditional boundaries, including those created by the Beyonders or other forces in the outside. Before we dive into the analysis, please hit the subscribe button and remember to turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thank you very much. Since there is no concept of nothingness without Dream shaping the idea, the Sandman embodies unreality as a principle, which exists on a much higher level than the Queen of Nevers. While the Queen of Nevers represents only the quantum superposition approach of possibilities, Dream is everything that does not exist in the meta-narrative. Dream of the Endless, beyond eternity and possessing greater power, is also the embodiment of the unconscious and mind of the creator, who created the DC creation on a more fundamental level than the multi-eternity. The Sandman defines the nature of all reality in DC cosmology, embodying the DC Omniverse. Thus, Dream plays a fundamental role in the creation of eternity, as the concept always existed before reality, and the Sandman himself is the principle behind it all. The Dream will outlive the multiverse, as his existence is not dependent on it. In fact, the opposite. Dream was present in the outside before TAA created the Marvel multiverse, either through the Beyond realm or through the mind of the Marvel god, giving meaning to the void as a void. When the First Firmament appeared and led to the creation of countless universes from infinite possibilities, Dream still existed. Similarly, within each DC universe, space includes infinite heights. Parallel planes of spacetime that share the same dimensional structure, rooted in their own universal models, and even fractal dimensions in between the number systems, creating a complex multi-dimensional structure. These regions are accessible when you go beyond the core of every dimension, where the spacetime dimensions beyond the hypercube extend to unimaginable depths. Since the First Firmament is a universe, each ending requires the destruction of the previous universe to make way for a new one. To the extent known, the use of the Marvel Omniverse only includes all levels of the Type 4 multiverse, which is only a small part of the greater Omniverse. This system consists of independent multiverses separate from the DC Omniverse and divided by the Void, which lies outside of DC creation. In Marvel's understanding, this means that entirely separate multi-eternities exist in independent constructs created by separate versions of the one above all, or sometimes the same entity recreating its creations or other creations to name them. There have been many cosmic entities that go beyond any previous concept and view the Type 3 or 4 multiverse and all its dimensions as elements that can be easily ignored, recreated at will, or destroyed on various levels, or even completely unbound by them. One example is Perpetua, at the height of her power as one of the hands of the Source, from the ultimate realm of the impossible, a place that existed before the DC Multiverse, a place that existed before the DC Multiverse. It was there that she created the first version of the multiverse with all the properties of the physical realm, including elementary particles, space axes, measurable forms of matter and time, all in infinitely complex variations. Another entity is the Presence, the ultimate archetype of the Creator, who constructed the entire DC creation that contains the multiverse and all dimensions. Even the ideal realms of heaven, hell, and the Silver City are within his power, along with the beings who can destroy them. Lucifer Morningstar, or First of the Fallen, was the first creation of the Presence, conceived before the multiverse, existing in a formless, unending infinity. As the adversary, he holds the most powerful cosmic function, where all the darkness of DC creation is named within him to serve the completion of the plan. and give meaning to the light of the presence. He leaves creation to the void on the other side and creates a whole existence that mirrors the DC cosmos with a multiverse, higher dimensions, and morphing realms, but one that exists around his own will and cosmic principles. Or Dream of the Endless, who stepped out of everything in the DC cosmos and created his own creation, a complete independent existence with its own dimensional superstructure and realm of form, which he created from the void, separate from everything in the DC creation. So even magic, imagination, or souls are just manifestations of dynamic energy originating from the information space, a different layer than the three-dimensional universe, like the superflow or the quantum zone. Sentient entities are either manifestations of a part of reality based on physical principles, or are manifestations of life in conscious forms, formed when these natural energies interacted, creating consciousness as a byproduct of the birth of the primordial universe. Therefore, all, without exception, including Oblivion, the embodiment of the absolute absence of space in the multiverse, inevitably collapse upon fulfilling its role as a physical void, and then dissipate without extending into the beyond or beyond the local multiverse. Even if Oblivion's multiverse were to be recreated, the entity that would replace it would be a new abstract form, not himself, as seen in the versions before and after the 8 universes. Instead of fighting that new force, which also suggests the objectives fulfilling the requirements of being related to other universes and specifying various restrictions, the two combat entities that would replace it would be recreated. This is why the most powerful concepts in Marvel are Type 2, and the majority are Type 3, nominal concepts according to Aristotle. An example of the superiority of conceptual entities over the physical realm is Darkseid's true form, a Type 1 concept. His pure essence is the embodiment of absolute evil and the drive to dominate existing simultaneously across all times and all planes of existence in all models and states of DC creation. Simply by falling from the true reality of the source into the ority of worlds, Darkseid manifested as a cosmic shadow that encompassed the entire DC multiverse, forming a singularity that pulled the entire fabric of space-time in every dimension into a black hole of apocalyptic darkness. The true forms of these Platonic concepts are capable of destroying a Type 4 multiverse simply by interacting with it. This is why Darkseid uses avatars to limit his power, as his true form is completely incompatible with existence as we know it. Good and evil are not, in fact, Type 4 concepts, but merely ideas emanating from the minds of mortals living in a limited three-dimensional world. In contrast, the forms of good and evil are absolute constants that govern the arrangement of all things. The entire grand plan, along with the cosmic entities that carry out all actions based on the principles of good and evil, light and dark, order and chaos, the endless, occupy a unique place in DC cosmology, as each of them represents the core concepts upon which all of existence depends. The endless go beyond the usual Platonic forms as they encompass the entire structure of DC's metaphysics. These are universal concepts like consciousness or forms of action, far beyond the ability to compare to Marvel's Mistress Death. Marvel's concept of death is represented as the ultimate opponent, but in DC Comics, Necron is the original manifestation of death and the empty darkness, which predates the DC Multiverse, similar to Marvel's Oblivion. However, Necron is a more basic and primal representation of death than Mistress Death. While Mistress Death only represents the end of beings living in space-time, belonging to a cosmic continuum, higher dimensions and other cosmic entities that operate through patterns, existing on its own archetypal realm of true darkness beyond the orrery of worlds, beyond the DC multiverse, and beyond the concepts of space or time on the physical plane, it is eternal in all quantum realities and is not bound by the crisis that spans all dimensions. This is exactly what Necron did to the Anti-Monitor, who caused the Crisis on Infinite Earths event, destroying the pre-crisis DC multiverse. Villains like Doctor Strange, No Way Back, and Hell are out to fight. Subscribe to the channel, it helps us a lot, and moreover, you will get to see great videos every day. You are the best. thank you very much. Unj, the Spectre, the cosmic judge who functions similarly to the living tribunal, is tasked with protecting the orrery of worlds from threats. And Necron is just one aspect of the true death of the Endless, as all cosmic entities and even Type 1 concepts related to the concept of the end revolve around her as a function which is absolute and limitless. Even in the Marvel Multiverse, the dream dimension is only a pale reflection of the dreaming in DC Comics. It is simply a parallel physical dimension between countless others, where matter is transformed into less stable protoplasm, and life energy formed from consciousness can be sensed. Here, other versions of the dream dimensions also exist in variations of the universe or timeline only for sentient beings. The alien entities use energy-based attacks to disrupt the elementary particle structure, resulting in the deaths of the living tribunal, eternity, infinity, master order, and Lord Chaos, directly causing the end of the seventh cosmos. And the Beyonders were still completely crushed by an ancient demon that controlled only the nightmare aspect from one of the dream dimensions, simply the way the foundation of this world works, in the verse as where the imagination is the agent itself. Even though it was still just a hyperverse where time, space, and gravity were no longer abstractions and below the scale of atoms, Nightmare still defeated the Beyonder race. In DC Comics, the dreaming is an extension of the Sandman, a state of existence and plane of existence beyond the furthest reaches of experience and understanding, a singularity and superiority to the DC Multiverse, a sea of symbols, integrated archetypes that become patterns and concepts built into reality, sustaining the entire existence of DC creation. Unlike Marvel's The Dream Dimension, it is not located in any space tied to a specific universe. It exists above the entire dimensional structure and contains the entire DC multiverse and the origin of creation, in which DC creation morphs into an endless possibility of variation, how the multiverse was created. Was it Tua, the Celestials, the Beyonders are all true and literal here. Each destiny in the scans below contains a completely different DC creation in their books, which can replace or destroy them all if Dream's cosmic changes continue to distort probability. Dream has the ability to make the multiverse infinitely larger, or split it into duplicates, or even change the nature of the four-way multiverse into something completely strange and different. Dream of the Endless was there on the Void, settling its function before any creation was made, when the concept of the rules that would later structure all existence was still being debated by the primal powers, and there was not even the concept of linear events or shapes, and each concession would collide endlessly across every level of existence. None of the Endless were bound by DC creation, and even less by the orrery of worlds, where the multiverses existed. They encompassed their function to the outer void, if anything, extending to the other creations created by their own supreme beings. The dream of the Endless embodies the pure driving force of conceptual creation, with a capital C, where everything else is shaped into reality. A group elite, the more than just the primal symbol of sleep and the dream realm, the Sandman serves as the architect of all forms of imagination and the shaper of every aspect of existence. This includes both the function and form of the laws of the universe, as well as creation myths, from primordial statements like, "In the beginning, let there be light," or "It came from darkness." Furthermore, the dream defines the very concepts of emptiness and nothingness in a palpable way, where the notions of existence and non-existence are both bent and shaped by purpose. While the retcons created by Dream are all-encompassing, destroying and recreating everything, including events of the original cosmic order and part of the Presence's plan, like the fall of Lucifer Morningstar when there was no multiverse and no concept of time, sending all of existence back towards the source. This shows how the retcon of Dream of the Endless greatly expands everything that eternity represents. He edits the meta-narrative of existence or changes it entirely. Why does eternity operate according to the principles of a Type 4 multiverse? Until the Sandman recreates everything that has ever existed, everything is and will remain as if it never ceased to exist in the first place, even rewriting events that occurred in the void and sending back the primordial darkness from consuming all existence. And the Book of Destiny even influences cosmic creators like the Presence and Lucifer Morningstar, who created the DC creation in the form of God and the adversary, and by extension extension, multi-eternity. The Endless is a limitless fantasy in DC Comics, as they represent the realm of omnipotence and are the absolute supreme authority of their own nature, including functions such as raw power, beginning and end, cause and effect, abstraction and conceptualization, will and opposition, disturbance and consciousness, etc. Even though they are almost all-powerful things, the Endless is still fundamental. The multi-eternity is limited as a cosmic manifestation of his own multiverse. Thus, his boundaries are defined, and the entities above him are erased. I think the dream of the Endless wins. What do you think? I hope you enjoy this fight. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Follow me if you like. That's it for today's video. Thank you very much, everyone.